Is it ready? Ready?
We had a lady at school, and she was amazing. And I'm like, you can take my picture, but I want it with the skin of it.
Really good.
Ice falling
I'm good, thank
off
you.
the lights.
My wife went to Japan. She turned the temperature down to 66. She knows that's well. I get all fired up. I get all fired up. Look, we got a pen here. Yeah, you can thank me later for taking you out of zeros on table and the bonus.
All right, everybody ready? You're going to do the honors, is that right?
Yes.
We'll make it clear so people want to look.
Okay, I gotta share my copy.
In the moment of
By,
silence.
you know, .01, like you get some zero there. It's not the intent. It's not the intent to be a puny thing, but I
Yes,
like
it is.
Yeah. You guys ready? Good morning. I would like to call the meeting to order and begin by asking Board Member Wendy Hamilton to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember Nathan Jackson, Assistant Equipment Manager at our Talleyrand Marine Terminal. Nathan passed away on September 23rd. Our prayers are with his loved ones. Also, let us remember our neighbors in the Panhandle who are still dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Michael. May they come through this ordeal stronger than ever. Thank you.
Wendy, thank you. I'd like to remind the board members that we will be streaming live video of today's meeting, so please speak into the mic. First up today is the approval of the minutes from the October 1st, 2018 Board of Directors meeting. You should have all received a copy in your board packet. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So be it. Passes. Public comments. Are there any other members of the public who would like to address the board at this time? Great. Thank you very much. Now on to business. James, please come up and present AC 2018-10-01, and good morning, James.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to present to you once again. I am happy to say this will be the last time I'm talking about maintenance dredging for last year. All other conversations will be maintenance dredging for current year, but this is the last time for last year. What I'd like to do is just quickly give you a little bit of history, but this is going to be brief in light of our time requirements this morning. We currently have a contract today for berth maintenance dredging that was initially started 2 years ago. We have just entered the third year of the base 3 years for the contract. And so we're talking about the maintenance dredging now for the second year, which was year 2018. I come to you in September to get you to ratify some change orders that we had made at that point. That was bringing everything up to current with the maintenance dredging that we've experienced this year because of the heavy siltation that we've experienced. And we approved, ratified change orders 1, 2, and 3, as well as provided some additional funding for us to finish out the fiscal year to get us through the end of September. And we proceeded with that. What we also realized is because of the success in our marketing team, and we continue to see some increased vessel sizes, we needed to survey the turning basin at Dames Point Marine Terminal. And when we did so, we were faced with some restrictions at the turning basin because of the siltation rates there. So we made the decision to move forward and go ahead and dredge, do the maintenance dredging for the turning basin to keep the operations of the larger vessels moving. And as so, what we ultimately realized is where I projected about 411,000 yards total for the end of the year when I originally come back in September with the turning basin, which wasn't anticipated. We've ended up with 469,000 yards this year. That included the turning basin for the total year. And so as such, the purpose of today is to come back and close out the entire year. These are the final numbers and done for the 2018 year, which goes all the way through the September 31st timeline for all of our dredging, September 30th. You can see before we'd already made it through change orders 4, 5, and 6. This last one was for the turning basin. For the Dames Point Marine Terminal turning basin is for a value of $871,935. What that does is allows us to finish out the year with a total expenditure of $10,962,483. That is shared in part with the TRAPAC MOL terminal, who does pays for the maintenance dredging for both 16 and 17. Their share is $3,831,077, while JAXPORT's is $7,131,483. So the purpose of today is to request that the board approve change order 7 in the amount of $871,935 for the dredge costs associated with the Dames Point Marine Terminal turning basin, as well as the total amount of the contract, including change orders of $10,962,483, which is responsible for $7,131,406 by JAXPORT, and TRAPAC is responsible for $3,831,077. This allows us the ability to close out the year, pay the final invoices for last FY, and continue forward this year. It does also allow us to, we've moved forward into the new year with having the turning basin already dredged. This last change order number 7 included 56,129 yards of material that come out of the turning basin. So with that, I respectfully request approval for change order number 7.
James, thank you very much. Ask the board to take this under consideration. Do I hear a motion to consider?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I have to recluse myself from this vote because Manson is a customer.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, James, what is the budget maintenance dredging for this year?
We had originally projected back in March when we was putting together the budget, we had bumped the numbers up for our maintenance dredging from 153,000 yards to 225 to take into account for that. Our final budget numbers for our portion for this year is a little over $4 million for JAXPORT's portion coming into the new year.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Please, Chairman Newman. Board member.
My most sophisticated comment for this is, ouch.
Oh, my comments was much stronger than that.
I'm sure it was.
Every time a survey comes in.
Wow. Okay, that's it.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
That's it.
Thanks for the contribution.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the board, staff and myself, we're working on, as best as possible, some level of cost containment as it pertains to the maintenance dredge. As James mentioned, we're in our 3rd year of a
Base 3 years.
base 3 years with 2 one-year renewal option contract with the current dredger. When we undertook this contract 3 years ago, there was no competition. However, as we look to the future, there's the potential to have 2 additional dredge companies in the river if we were to bid this out and not take on the 2 renewal year options. So Beth is actually, along with the engineering and construction team, and working with the current dredger to talk about how we can possibly earn some type of a payback based off of the increase above and beyond what they are actually accruing right now. If not, our other option is to look at bidding this contract out because there is a level of competition out there. We've sort of involved former chairman, Mr. Fleming, who's got over 35 plus years in the industry and doing this. And so we're meeting this week, I believe, and we will continue to meet and bring back some level of plan to try and mitigate as much as possible for the future, opposed to just continuing to sort of go along and business as usual. So we'll bring something back hopefully in the next 60 days to alert the board on the direction in which we think is best for the organization to try and mitigate our cost as best as possible. And maybe some level of, the way that we do contracts with the MAG, and then there's a buy-down rate after that if we were to bid it out, or Beth is negotiating right now, as I mentioned, for them to lower their cost per cubic yard if we were to exercise those two last year. So I just wanted the board to know that we're not sitting back and not doing anything. There's a lot of creative minds sitting around the table to try and figure this one out.
Mr. Green, thank you very much. And my brief commentary is, as so many of us come from private business, I cannot imagine a business model, and it's just extraordinary to have such a big delta that you have absolutely no control of that can parachute in and impact your operating expense, because you can't finance that. I mean, it's your operating expense. So just the fact that we're in such an enviable position to be able to absorb that kind of impact is fantastic. So good work. Any other thoughts? Great. We have a motion on the board and seconded to approve Mr. Bennett's request as submitted. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Oh,
Mr. Chairman, if I may make one last comment. One of the things to keep in mind is we've talked a lot this year about the increased maintenance dredging. What you have to keep in mind is all this material has to go somewhere. And so we place this material in what we call DMMAs, Dredge Material Management Areas. We have a couple sites that we place this material. We're working on now bringing back a presentation probably around January to kind of give you an update of the status on where we're at with those DMMAs. because we have to also have a long-term plan to make sure we have locations of placing this material, not only for our berths, but also in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers for the Federal Navigational Channel. So we are looking very closely at that, because as we see increased rates of maintenance dredging at our berths and in the channel, we've got to have places to put that. So this very well impacts us long-term as well with having storage capability. So we're working on the presentation to be back probably January to give you an update on where those are at and long-term plans for that.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Chairman. When James mentioned working with the Army Corps of Engineers on the federal maintenance, the federal channel, it's the maintenance.
Yes.
It's not the harbor deepening project, okay? So every year, the federal government, they have to dredge and scour the federal channel down to its regulated depth, which is 40 feet right now. Then it'll become 47, okay?
Very good point, because they dredge all the way up to Talleyrand as well and beyond. So that's where that dredge, but very good point as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Beth, will you now present BD 2018-11-01?
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning. So as James has presented to you the final numbers for berth maintenance dredging for the year, you may remember that as we went through the summer and saw the ever-increasing amounts that we were going to have to dredge to keep the harbor in operation, we saw that we would exceed the appropriated amount that the city had authorized us in the 2018 budget. So we sought the assistance of our council liaison, Councilman Gulliford, who put forth legislation to increase our appropriation. We then, as we moved into September, asked for that legislation to be deferred because we could see that surveys were continuing to say that we would be dredging more than expected. So finally, now that we have our total number for 2018, we're asking the councilman to put that legislation back in the process and get a final appropriation increase amount as a result of the increased dredging. So this is a submission to request your formal approval of a resolution authorizing an increase in our appropriations by $7,720,000 and change. The difference between that number and the $7 million number that James just gave is, in our line item, we include the fuel cost plus our ARC surveys, which is our independent surveyor. So we present that to you, and if you approve it, we will be in front of the Finance Committee tomorrow morning to ask for their support to move this forward to Council.
Ms. McKay, thank you very much. Do I hear a motion from the board to consider?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Move as presented?
As presented, yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in, excuse me, is there any discussion? Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you very much, it carries.
Thank you.
Since we are short on time, that's good, you knew not to go sit down. We've all read the same notes. Since we are short on time this morning, the CEO, engineering, financials, and commercial highlights are all in your board books as information only. Ms. McKay will now continue and give us her CFO report on the Port's 2018 financial performance. Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since it is the end of the year, we wanted just to take a few minutes and share with you the overall results for 2018. And notwithstanding this uncontrollable increase in berth maintenance dredging, I bring to you the gap analysis to show where we were expected to be and where we ended up and why. So if you see this gap analysis, we started the year with a budget, net income budget of $7,785,000. That was on budgeted revenues of just over $59 million. But because of tremendous success in both the sales area and some other operating income areas, we beat our revenue target by $5.8 million. Now, of that amount, in almost every category, we had great results. Our containers revenue was $34 million, $3.2 million above our budget. Our autos had a very solid year at $17 million and slightly ahead of budget year. Cruise was very good, $5.2 million, again above plan, and almost 200,000 passengers who passed through our port going on their cruise with Carnival Cruise Lines. So we had an excellent in all of our revenue areas. Other operating revenue includes, you may remember, tipping fees, which is the amount we collect from our harbor neighbors, our private harbor neighbors, who also use our spoil sites that James just referred to. And that line item was 1.2 million over plan. So as we were struggling paying our dredging bills, so were our neighbors, and we benefit a little bit from the tipping fees that we receive from them, and also our escort fees. Our escort fees were up over plan by $400,000. So 5.8 million, which was great. You can see here we had a wash with improvement in expense on salaries, largely as a result of Eric Green's leadership to consolidate certain jobs and reduce some expenses there. But we increased repairs and maintenance, mostly on the Blunt Island terminal, as Doug Menefee's group dealt with some deferred maintenance issues to make sure that that terminal was safe and secure. So all of this 5.8 million that was over budget in the revenue side, nearly all of it went to pay this bill, the increase in the dredging, which was $5 million over plan. And we were very fortunate that we had these resources to pay that bill. We did have almost $1.3 million savings in debt service, as we borrowed less on the line of credit than we had expected. And so we were able to not only pay this bill, but also end the year 9.943 in total net income against that budget of $7,785,000. So this is, in my opinion, an amazing result. And our CEO, Eric Green, would remind me to say, this is not a repeatable situation. It is not repeatable. We have a lot going on in the sales world, but we have a lot of challenges in the sales world also. Our revenue, for instance, in containers was great, both on the Asian trade lanes and the Puerto Rican trade lanes, up 37%. We know that will not continue this year. And so we are very happy that we ended the year at 9.943. Of that amount, we took 7.8 and we put it towards capital expense for 2019. An additional amount we used to pay down our line of credit below $12 million, and then the rest we put into our cash balances. So very glad to get to this number, 28% over budget and 44% above last year. On our balance sheet, we have an increase in our target cash position. We try to end that year with $16 million in cash. That represents about 50% of our total operating expense for the 2018 year. We ended at $16,350,000. And again, we paid down our line of credit to below $12 million. We'll continue chipping away at that as we can during the course of this year. We are, of course, keeping a very close eye on the big problem area, and that is the uncontrollable expense of berth maintenance dredging, watching that very carefully. And as Mr. Green has indicated, we are working several different paths to see, can we take down that number this year? We still don't have any official word that we're seeing any abatement in the siltation that follows the Hurricane Irma that we saw in 2017. That's my report. Mr. Chairman, are there any questions?
Knowing that the board does not need to take official action on any of Ms. McCaig's report, however, would you mind like to speak?
I have a question.
Please.
And maybe it's to ask for a presentation in the meeting. Given the amount of cash that we have, which is not just the 16 million, but other cash things, as interest rates have risen, we should be collecting more interest on those cash balances. And I just point out that we had investment income of $383,000 this year. At 3% of 16 million, it would be 4.8 million. So there's a real opportunity here for us to.
480,000.
Okay, did I a zero?
I was going to let it go, but he's tough.
Thank you. But we have other cash items too, so we need to have a focused effort. Thank you for correcting me.
Thank you. We will do that. As a matter of fact, our operating accounts are with our current bank regions, and the interest rate we receive on that is about 80 basis points of Fed funds rate, and we're looking to improve that. And you may remember that last June, we worked with that bank, and they increased our rate substantially last year because we were at a very low rate, but they moved it to a portion of federal funds rate. So we will continue to work on that. And also, we will be working towards increasing our target cash balance because, again, our analysts like to see us at 180 days of total expense, and our total expense this year is scheduled to be $36 million. So that would take us to a cash balance operating accounts of about $18 million.
Any other questions? Ms. McCaig, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Before moving on, I want to ask for my apologies, but there's two people I'd like to recognize. Councilman Gullifer, thank you very much for attending today. It's great to see you. Thank you for your participation and support. And Johnny Gaffney joins us from the city of Jacksonville. Johnny, thank you, my good friend. Thank you for coming. Great. As we consider other business, I'd like to put something before the board, and if the audit committee would like to comment on this, but earlier this morning, there was a motion to approve a 3% COLA increase for Eric Green. Mr. Chairman, do you have anything to say or bring that before the board in terms of a vote?
I would make a motion to that effect.
Great. As a committee motion, it does not need a second. I'll open it up for a conversation. Any commentary? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moves. Great. All right, at this point in other business, I will ask for a motion to approve the travel for any members of the board called upon to do business or attend meetings on behalf of the port during the month of November 2018. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move. Thank you very much. Miscellaneous. Let's go do this. So we're now going to proceed with the shade meeting of the JAXPORT Board of Directors requested by the Vice Chairman at the October 1st board meeting. At this time, anyone not listed as an attendee on the litigation shade meeting notice is asked and required to leave the room. The litigation shade meeting will commence once the room is cleared, and only the invitees remain. Thank you very much, and thank you all very much for attending this morning.